it's a meditation process. When I'm up there, I don't think about anything else than flying. It's the best way to kind of refocus your life, refocus on the moment, and forget about everything else around you. And I think that's why people are so addicted to it.
It's an escape from the reality of the ground, right? Paragliding makes me feel like I'm connected with nature.
All the little things and material things doesn't matter, because I conquered like the most that I could do, and after that, you know, you get a different feeling, like you're born again, right?
It's only me and elements. I try to focus and be in the zone. You know how much money I save on a shrink? It's amazing.
Paragliding is freedom, relaxation, adventure. The perfect experience of flow, putting all your skills into what you're doing and getting a magnificent result, a measurable result and measurable improvement in your performance and judgment. And yeah, it's just very, very satisfying way to spend a weekend.
It's a challenge. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me, is I like on the days either to be able to stay up or go as far as you can.
Paragliding is basically like a hang gliding, so free flying, where you use no engine, using the mother nature, you're understanding it, you're connecting with it, and basically climb as high as the birds do and go as far as you can. At least that's what we do here.
It's more calm sport than, for example, skydiving, which is more on the extreme side. I would say it has more rush to it.
So cross-country flying here at the flatlands has a huge potential because you're not obstructed by the mountains and you have to go around everything. So basically the best part here on this flat pancake is you can go anywhere and land anywhere. So we are not obstructed by anything except the weather.
Cross country is one of the disciplines of paragliding. It's different from ridge soaring. So pretty much you fly on the open fields or in the mountains usually, where you have thermal air coming up, versus on the ridge you have the wind coming from the ocean or the sea, hitting the ridge and creating the lift. Here just warm air creates the lift. So we are here doing just warm air.
Here in the flatlands, you initially tow up, and then once you're at certain altitude, you can pin off and you're back in free flight. Then it's like any other place. We look for thermals, anything that can give us a little hot air column to then circle around to try and stay up as long and go as far as we can.
The first thing you learn in paragliding in the flatlands is how to get to the top of a thermal. Find a thermal, get to the top, and then find another one, get to the top of that one, string them together, and you've got yourself 100 miles. You can go anywhere. It's up to your own skills and judgment of the day on what's possible.
It's very challenging, especially when you go far on those blue days. People think it's all about luck. Where do you get how do you find that next thermal? How do you put a flight together that's going to be 6-7 hours flying? It takes a lot of preparation. Most of the long cross-country flight we do, it's downwind flying, trying to fly the highest wind we could potentially fly. So
when thermals really clicked for me was around this time of year, many years ago, and I saw an entire thermal from ground to cloud filled with corn, and you can see the whole shape of the thermal. And it's not just a column, right? It's like zigzagging all over the place. And then it finally made sense, right? When I'm circling in the thermal, and then I'm going straight up, right? And I feel like I lose it. It's not because I lost it. It's the thermal turned, right? Finally, that made sense. The thermals have these weird shapes. Lots of things can mark the air, moving up and down in the sky, clouds, everything. And your experience as a pilot is learning all of those different markers, putting them together, and using them as needed to fly big distance.
I'm looking for at least 6,000 feet cloud base, and depends on the day if it's wind or not. If it's too windy, we try to go down the wind as far as we can. If there is moderate or no wind, we try to do the triangle.
My personal best paragliding flight was 221 kilometers. I flew that on my 777 Rook 3, which is a B glider, which makes it even that more special. And I did that in June of 2022, right here from Colum, Illinois, and flew southeast towards Indianapolis. And 221 kilometers is 137.5 miles. And I was able to do that flight in just under 6 hours. So very excited about that. It was my first 100-miler ever. And I followed it up with another 100-miler this past June up in Minnesota, also towing in the flatlands, and became the first woman to ever fly 100 miles on a paraglider in the state of Minnesota. And I also hold the women's distance record right here in Illinois, just like Jaro.
For a long flight around here, the conditions, you have to have wind, strong lift, you're going to have time in the air.
in Chicago, the longest flight was 252 miles, and Jaro Krupa, our mentor, it was 70 degrees Fahrenheit on top of thermal. It was in the middle of April. It was freezing, absolutely freezing, and he still powered through it. It's not only floating and having fun. It's a fight, and it's a fight for a very long time. For seven and a half hours. It's a long flight.
So it's all about the weather, and then how cocky you are. I flew the farthest here, 250 miles, almost 400 kilometers. We had a northwest winds, probably 20 miles an hour on the ground, and I ended up between Dayton, Ohio and Cincinnati. So that was going north of Indianapolis and basically a straight shot down. The whole flight took me 8 hours. And we came back like 4 o'clock in the morning here.
Honestly, while I'm flying and enjoying myself, there's no element of danger. The more experience you have, the more comfort you have with different situations, the less danger there is in the sport. And it's really down to your decision making and judgment about when to fly, when not to fly, and how and where to fly that determines whether it's dangerous for you. When I consider paragliding a dangerous sport, I land.
If you don't have healthy amount of respect in the beginning, you know, you can hurt yourself like with anything else.
What is very dangerous, it's to not know the danger. Like basically what you don't know will kill you. And this, when it comes to paragliding, yeah, it can go fast.
Like I started to fly about 12 years ago, so initial instructor tells you what you're not supposed to do. After that, actually, I like to read through a lot of accidents and incidents, what people did, and I analyze that. And then it's my personal judgment plus my own experience. And sometimes it even feeling in the body, when you feel that you're out of control, you have to do something. If you step into that zone out of control, you want to get back. Yes.
Everybody will define how, you know, what's danger for them. And you know, nowadays I find with my kids, and people will look at me sometimes like, oh my god, you know, you're crazy, this is so dangerous. I'm like, I don't think so. I think like I'm prepared. I really feel that the Midwest flatland flying is one of the safest way of flying, because the takeoff is easier in my opinion. When you take off from a mountain, when you have that commitment piece, you can always stop when you're towing. Of course there is the towing part of it, but if you have a good tow operator, everything will go smooth and can stop at any time. So the towing by itself is actually pretty safe. It's a very good way to learn. Actually, schools, paragliding schools nowadays in the mountain will actually use towing to learn those first couple of flights, because it's very safe. Then the flying, you know, you're in the air and you can pretty much land everywhere you want. You can see everything. There's plenty of place to land, so that part is more safe than anywhere else. And then you don't have to deal with valley wind or any other, you know, any other aspect of mountain flying.
I was sick. I had a fever, and still I decided to fly. So I had a temperature, and my judgment was poor. So I ended up on the landing. On the landing, I ended up touching the tree and falling. I didn't break anything, but I had to recover for a couple months. So I learned from that you know, poor decisions. You know, nevertheless, I have great skills. I have over 1,000 skydives and base jumps. Still, if you're in bad condition, you're making bad decisions, and initially you should make them. So yeah,
I've hiked up many times up a mountain. Other people were flying, but my skills were not there, and I packed up my gear and went back down. It's very peaceful at times, but it also has the adrenaline junkie aspect of it. There's danger. I think it's probably the safest air sport, but there's always a greater than 0% chance.
As soon as I leave the ground, I mean, I'm focused on what I'm doing, and basically everything else goes on a side. So you cannot have no attachments to the ground. If you do have problems, like anything, family, money, relationships, whatever, and you do have like this baggage on you, and you cannot focus, it's probably better not to fly, because flying requires to be full on.
Most of the time, the fear is not real. It's your assessment of the situation your mind will trick you, and you think you're in a situation where it could be, you know, it's today, it's moving too much, or it's like, no, the conditions were the same as yesterday, maybe not feeling as great, but with experience, I've gotten better with trying to, again, analyze all the data that I have for me and not get my emotion take over. It's difficult, and sometimes if you don't feel great, you have to go land, and it's fine. There is always another day.
This is by far the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, and I've done a ton of adventure sports. I've gone in shark cages, snowboarded black diamonds all around the world, you name it. But this made me confront my fears in a way that I never thought I was capable of doing. And so in that way, it's extremely rewarding. When you start out, you're like, I can't believe I've done this. And it's just so wonderful.
I think everybody'd be lying if they say they didn't have some anxiety and fear on certain times. I mean, we get conditions that get rowdy, and it makes you think, if I can't work through those, if they're not a reasonable fear, then I land.
The level of excitement should correspond to the level of activity I'm doing it. So this is rather risky, so I have to be a little bit up. I cannot be too slow, too mellow, and it cannot be too perky because I would make abrupt decisions. So I want to be right in that zone where I'm confident, I know what I'm doing, and in order to get that, pretty much, I just listen to the music, which puts me up, right, to the right mood, and after that, I actually think about the flight on the ground. So I think what I'm going to do, and then I'm just doing it. After I start doing it, I'm not thinking about it, I'm just doing it on my instinct.
You look at the big picture weather, you look at the local weather forecast, you're trying to plan for your day, but then you're up in the air, and it's whatever you can see around you. The condition will change as the day goes, but we all flying, checking the sky around us, making sure that there is no storm coming, the wind is not changing, the wind is not too strong. But once again, you want to get all those information and comprehend, and just make sure that all those parameters that you're actually reading make sense, and there is nothing that will make the situation dangerous, and you can just keep going. The experience will help you digest all this information more than anything else. The faster you can digest this information quickly, the better you'll be a pilot.
You put the years together, and you learn from your mistakes in the past, and try not to put yourself in situations that are going to give you anxiety.
So we need this little stress, which pretty much we isolated on our jobs, which we used to have before, I think, in caves and the forests. So I'm getting that for some time I'm calm. And it's like pretty much any sport. You can go to the gym or you can go flying. For me, it's flying.
Jaro has a very fun way of teaching. He's not afraid to yell, but if you're in the air, you need to get yelled at if you're messing up. He's great. He has an amazing skill set. You see him fly, and you just immediately know you're learning from someone who's at the top of the game.
Jaro is the main character of this whole thing.
He pushes us in exactly the right way, I would say. It's a drive to fly farther, fly better, fly faster. Why aren't you flying, right? But not in a dangerous way, but in a way that maximizes the potential of the conditions and of the glider and of the pilot and of the area. In my first few years of flying, I flew only towing in the Corn, and then we would go and travel to places, and I would think, why aren't you flying? The conditions are excellent. We're visitors, we show up, we fly, we leave, and the locals haven't flown, and I don't understand why. Perfectly safe conditions. And that attitude, I think, of like, if we can fly, we're going to fly, has really enabled me and all of us to really progress really quickly and enjoy flying on a lot of days when people might say, I don't need to, I'm not gonna. And that doesn't mean making unsafe decisions. It means really knowing exactly where your boundaries are and making the safest decisions, actually.
I started here flying for 20 years and flying B gliders, and now in 5-6 years flying competition, flying 2-liners, D gliders, and being very comfortable with them and enjoying it a lot. He told me basically that I was not good, just to say polite, at paragliding, and let's start over. I mean, you got some good base, but there's one thing that you're missing, like completely. It's the mental. the mental part of flying and believing in yourself, and no, you can do it. You know, Jaro always talk about educated luck, and we all looking at him like, oh my God, educated luck, what does that mean, you know? And I'm starting to slowly understand, you know, it's more about watching the situation, being optimistic about it, like, you know, believing in your mind that this is going to work. Then you might actually have a chance, a better chance. Versus when I got here, it was all negative and seeing all the wrong reason of like, oh no, this is, you know, I'm too low, I'm too this, I'm too, no, it's too windy, you know, always finding an excuse. He's got that mentality that comes from sailplane pilot. He's got some internal thing that tells him, like a bird, like tells him like where it's going to work to where it's not going to work. It just keeps amazing me, and I really like his approach when it comes to teaching. There's no halfway, there's no BSing around. He's gonna tell you exactly what you need to do, and I feel like this is critical, and this is what keeps you safe. There's no like, I'm gonna be controlling your flight from A to Z. No, it's you flying. I'm gonna give you the tools. I'm gonna yell at you. I'm gonna make sure you understand where you become dangerous for yourself. Again, going back to, you don't know what you don't know, and this is what's dangerous in paragliding. But no, Jaro is an amazing person and pilot.
Another benefit to the sport of paragliding is there are so many different disciplines that you can do within it and to explore. You can be an acrobatic pilot. Maybe you want to do cross country like we talked about earlier. You can do hike and fly. You can do competitions and be a competitive pilot, traveling the world, racing against your friends. You can be an 80-year-old guy who just wants to run off a mountain at sunset and experience smooth glass off air. So you can explore it and pursue whatever makes you excited about the sport in so many different ways, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about it.
Commit, buy the gear, get good training, don't jump too fast, don't try to be a hot shot, do something that's out of your element.
First thing first, you have to be really good on the ground. That means kiting. Kiting is the #1 thing that you can do for yourself. If you're good on the ground, you're going to be excellent in the air. Flying is not as important as the kiting, because if you don't kite, you're not going to get off that ground and fly. So, kite.
For anyone wanting to get into paragliding, my advice would be take a tandem. With a reputable tandem instructor, go up, see if you like it, get a feel for the sport. They're going to let you steer, you know, they're going to do some big fun tricks maybe with you, and you can see if it's really something that you want to pursue. Also, you want to research reputable instructors. Don't just go with anybody. Do your homework, get some recommendations. There's so many great instructors all across the states that you can train with. And you want to get the proper training. Don't just go watch some YouTube videos. Get the right training so you can be safe. Because when you're safe, you're having fun. And when you're going to have fun, you're going to love it even more, and you're going to keep doing it for a long, long time to come. So take a tandem, get a reputable instructor, and get some gear and fly all the time.
Keep faith in God, trust yourself, trust your equipment, fuck fear.
I'm no king, I'm no god, just a man among the crowd. I don't raise my cup to please, but don't mind the company, say it as you should. This is your livelihood, just a man among the crowd.